Welcome to the Expert Talks by Kalkine TV. I'm Sage, and today's guest is Mrs. Jennifer Cheng Lo, co-founder, chair, managing partner of NewChic Capital. And for some background, NewChic Capital is a single-family office with roots in property, technology and businesses in the United States as well as Asia. All investments are impact-focused and span a range of specific technologies and areas, including early childhood education, longevity health tech, eco-friendly food tech, AI, beauty and fashion tech, FemTech, and much, much more, including blockchain, metaverse, NFTs and crypto. I'm keen to find out more. This should be a very interesting show. So bringing you live today, we have Ms. Jennifer Cheng Lo, co-founder, chair and managing partner of NewChic Capital. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Sage.
Lovely to meet you.
It's lovely to meet you in this new IRL format, live TV, no less.
Yes, and you're looking so fresh and vibrant. I want to know your secrets of this amazing vitality. Could you walk us through how NewChic Capital is existing investments and portfolio?
Sure. So we are, that was a really wonderful intro. So I'm a serial exit entrepreneur and I'm an investor. I set up NewChic Capital family office so that I could be able to, I would call it pay it forward, but basically I like to invest in other entrepreneurs as well as other female funders and change makers. So one of the reasons why I set it up to have an impact focus is that I realized very early on that that technology is something that is here to stay, right? But we need to find a way to be able to include everybody as stakeholders in sort of our collective future. So whether it's climate change, we actually have our investors in the pre-seed and seed rounds of a climate-focused company based out of UK as well. Whether it's AI for health, whether it's cancer vaccines, I think all of this is very impactful. And the reason why we are also very strong believers in Web3 and metaverse is I think the best investors and entrepreneurs are the ones who lead and are part of the most inclusive and diverse communities. So some of our investments you can see across our sites. Some are secondary investments too, because we invest in fund managers who are diverse and inclusive as well. So we have, I believe, over 100 direct and indirect investments.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that information. And you're absolutely right. Web3 is very fascinating in how it's democratizing many sectors through breaking down those walls, or those silos, should I say, that may have been missing out the distribution of value to many parties. So we're keen to hear your insights as you are working closely with the space. Now, how do you cherry pick early stage or growth startups, and how do you guide them to become the next generation of impact entrepreneurs?
Oh, Sage, that's a wonderful question. So I think it's really hard. I think cherry picking is very much tied to curation. So I talked about community. I talked about, what are the purpose? And a lot of that is content. There's definitely many C's to the equation. So you said cherry picking, which I think is a sort of a great word for curation. So what I look for is an alignment of vision, alignment of values, alignment of the purpose. Are you seeking to solve something, a universally sort of impactful challenge, right? So if you are, for example, looking at something like climate change or health or education technology, that is something that impacts all of us. I don't care whether we're young or old, whatever it is something that impacts all of us, right? So I look for whether it's a truly innovative solution as well, or whether it's something that is not truly that unique, right? The other thing I look for when I cherry pick, different projects that I'd like to work with is the track record of the team, whether that's the management team. And when I say track record, it doesn't necessarily have to be a successful exit. It means were they like me when I was in college? I was working 5 jobs. I was working at startups. 2 of the startups were acquired by Yahoo. I look for also what I call that 4-letter word, which is grit. GRIT, which means tenacity, that ability to pick yourself back up when you fall down, the ability to be humble and realize that we're all human, we make mistakes, but that we can iterate and evolve and pivot, much like the companies and the solutions we're championing. So it's a combination of factors. And then the other reason I'm so intent on that curation is the other thing I try to do besides advise and mentor is give my time, because I feel like time is as important a resource as the capital. Time is something that we are all in short supply of, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like, this valuable time you are spending with me and this valuable time I'm spending with you is time we will ever get back. So when I spend that time, it's also a part of my due diligence process. And then at that point, I decide whether we will take a more long-term stake, as well as whether I'll introduce like-minded co-investors, whether there are other impact funds we are tightly co-investing with, or whether it's other people in the family office circle or the VC circle, as well as super angels, I'd like to call it.
Well, that's fantastic. Sounds like you are doing a lot of great work there with your investments. And just on that note of your own particular slate, so do you find that you get very similar products that you invest in, or is that one thing that you keep an eye on, that these products won't be competing against each other?
Yes, so I think there's a way of working synergistically. So there's several portfolio companies, for example, in sort of like there's one, for example, I'll mention because they were in the news a lot before. Mm-hmm. It's called Eternova, and they're basically a way of having your ashes into diamonds. It was introduced to us via one of the venture funds we're an LP of, called SoGal Ventures. I'm a millennial. Like me, I'm a millennial, but she's a millennial VC. We invested in her. She introduced this amazing co-investment. And, I think that what they're doing for the end of life and the planning, as well as legacy planning, as well as, whether it's your pets or your loved ones or whatever it is, can be any kind of ashes into diamonds. It's something very impactful. At the same time, we've invested in, co-invested with them in a pet cancer company called Torgen. But we've also invested in a pet metaverse, for example. And then the other things that I think are not, mutually exclusive or competitive is, one of the IPOs we had of one of our portfolio companies, Cambrian Bio. They had an IPO on NASDAQ for Sensei, which is earlier last year, which is a cancer vaccine and therapeutic for humans, right? So I think that there's a lot of ways that portfolio companies can all help each other. There's a creator multiverse that we invested in, and that we also helped them with their seed fundraise. Some of my friends invested in that in the Web3. And one of the things we did there was also connect them with, the pet metaverse, and then the other people who are also players in Web3. Because like I mentioned before, the people who are really focused on customer, clients, all of us are impact investors because we're all supporting the causes and companies we believe in, as well as the communities, right? So I think it all ties in very nicely. And the other thing I emphasize is another C word, which is collaboration over competition. It's never a winner takes all market. So I don't, my portfolio company, I see them as my family. I would love it if all the family can cooperate and achieve great things together.
That is a fantastic vision, that idea of collaboration and building the business ecosystem like you've done. That's very encouraging. I love that attitude, that there is more than one seat at the table, especially hearing it from a female who's in charge. Thank you so much for sharing that. Recently President Biden has encouraged the development of the Web3 and the blockchain businesses, so it sounds like you're in great stead. Do you have any comments to make on that executive order?
Well, I actually, I'm based out of Hong Kong, but right. I am actually American born, sure. And I'm an American citizen. I really admire President Biden in that I think right now we are all collectively in a major black swan unanticipated event together, which is obviously, the COVID pandemic. And there's a lot of things happening in the world. So I think I really admire his ability to lead during really tough times like this. I do think, Web 2, Web 3, all of these are, again, communities. They're part of they're not necessarily, I don't even want to say they're the future. They're here to stay. I was already, investing and interested in communities and in change makers and in companies, which were great communities. Some of them actually evolved into metaverses. And then there was one, for example, it's a fitness metaverse that one of my, co-investors and friends, Animoca, had invested in. They IPO'd on the Australian Stock Exchange last year. It's called All of X, and then they're in the middle of tokenizing right now. But what I think they're really great at is that they united people to be able to, work out and exercise and be incentivized with token and crypto. They also have utilized the smart mirror. And then another sort of example of sort of like the borderless sort of open economy that Web3 sort of shows is that I'm a non-executive director and founding advisor for an e-commerce aggregator. One of the things we have been discussing from the get-go is how it can be more open and inclusive in terms of the payments and transactions so that people can transact with fiat as well as crypto and other stable coins. So that, like, for example, if your country is under duress in terms of like logistics or shipping or being able to procure goods, like right now in Hong Kong, we're having certain challenges because of the COVID explosion recently. Excuse me. So one of the things that we're really focused on, sure people, ideas, opportunities can exchange freely like that. So I really am a believer in, Web3, metaverse, crypto, and NFTs as kind of the tip of this iceberg. It's really the dawn of this new era. And it has already been here, but I think it's even more so here to stay. We're seeing obviously a lot of support for people in via Europe, and a lot of us sending resources over to Ukraine and using things like DAOs and NFTs and impact Web3 projects to do so. So that is one of the examples, I think, of how Web3 is a force for good. And I support his statements for sure. President Biden, endorsing the use of crypto.
Yes, thank you so much for tying in your personal experience there with that question I just threw in. And you also mentioned that Yahoo bought a couple of your projects or acquired your ideas in your early days. Would you want to share anything on those before we move on?
No, I was working at some startups as when I was in college. One was a career jobs site. So we tied in students, we tied in a student like Visa card and other things. So I would go and try to get partnerships with the brands that were targeting the students on the college campus. And, my brother and I, we were also working on community and the predecessors to some of the social networks that you would see. So Yahoo acquired one of the career building sites that I was the student ambassador and leader of at when I was in college. I went to Brown University from undergrad. And they also acquired the other one, which was partnered with Visa card back then. Those were the projects I was working with. But that was quite a while ago. It was more than 10 years ago. So so that's, but they did acquire them back then. And there have been a lot of interesting M&A even back then, I guess, in the FinTech space, as well as in the HR tech and future of work space. So I think a lot of these forces are here at play. And Sage, you are asking such engaging questions. I feel like I could talk to you for hours.
That's great to hear. Well, we're getting through such valuable content with you. And being in the Asia Pacific region, we've seen digital payments really take off there and helping many emerging economies. So great to hear that you're in the space. Sounds like you've had a fantastic introduction and it's just been the sky's the limit for you. So in your opinion, in today's dynamic and tech-driven environment, what are the key ingredients that builds impactful companies and communities? If you can expand on that, please.
Of course, of course. So I think in today's world, there's a lot, I'm going to come back again to that curation. I feel like a lot of us are really bombarded. There's a really high signal to noise ratio, right? And I think those companies that are really like the beacons for us are the ones that we can all collectively stand behind. So one thing that for me, I always try to look to is not just before I look at whether I want to advise a company or whether I want to invest in a company or whether I want to, I'm actually still an entrepreneur and a community builder myself. I do have my own sites for doing that. Do you mind if I share it?
Please do.
At all? Thank you so much. It's called a Gen Club. JENN Club, CLUB.com. And some of my entrepreneurial projects, passion projects, and things I work on, because I'm a concert pianist by training. So one of the things I really believe in is I think we're on the age of a cultural renaissance. That's what one of the reasons why Web3 is here. I think we're on the cusp of a creator economy. We're already seeing that as well. What with the rise of social media, things like TikTok, Instagram Reels, a lot of social media. Social media itself was community, the community of Web 2. And then people are trying to find a way to make sure the right services, goods, products, and ideas can cross-transact. So I think the key ingredients are, first of all, if I can stand behind it as a values and mission-driven individual, if I can support it, let's see, is it ethical? Does it meet some ESG sort of goals? Is it a company that is also, giving back? Is there an impact focus? One of the reasons why one of the NFTs I supported in the past, which was with a creator who was based in Asia, is because she turned around and she made a donation and partnered with a company she partnered with an organization like Pussy Riot, as well as she partnered with and gave a donation to the organization that had helped her as a young girl struggling growing up in Korea. So one of the things I look for is a pattern of that behavior, because I think, people and their track records need to be, carefully, assessed. The other thing is that I look to see if I would be a customer. And then the other thing I look for, usually before I invest in a company, I'm actually either a user or a customer. But the other thing I look for is whether next gen truly appreciates it. So I'm a millennial mom of 3. So one of the things I look to is not just whether me and my Zennial friends, but also whether my children and their friends are going to be interested, because they are the ones who are going to continue to make sure whether these companies are truly sustainable, and they will be supporting it with their fiat, their crypto, their work, their sweat equity in the future. So those are like a few of the things I look at. And then the other thing I look at is whether it's impactful from a human standpoint, because everyone talks about, resources like, certain minerals, gases, and everything. But I actually think that the ultimate resource that we have in limited sort of quantities, in addition to time, is actually people. We are the unrenewable resource, and so are our kids. So is our current generation and the next generation. So that's why I make sure that I invest in people as much as in the companies themselves.
That's exciting. That is so well said. We are just stewards on the planet, and we are looking after it for the future generations. Thank you so much for sharing that. So the social impact of NFTs has, been severely felt with the cause for Ukraine. People have been donating, and the art world has been raising money for so many great causes that I'm sure you're well aware of. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights today. And as we start to wind up, what are your plans for NewChic Capital for 2022? Are you going to be reading several pitch decks as they come in, or just focusing on your current projects?
So the thing about NewChic Capital, and I'm so excited also that you led with NFTs too. My plans are, because NewChic Capital is a family office, so my family and my children, we are the ultimate stewards, like you mentioned, and stakeholders. And I also have my valued partners as well. So I'm actually not the one who manages our diligence processes because I want to be as objective and as fair as possible. Even though I have really wonderful, deals and opportunities passed to me by other serial exited entrepreneurs and very, successful investors who are, I'm sure, much more successful than me. Um, I, um, I'm kind of like the funnel. And then my team will, they will be the ones to drill down, look at the data room, ask the pertinent questions, have the meetings. Because much as I would love to meet like several thousand people a month, because we get a lot of submissions, it's actually impossible for me to go and reply to thousands of emails and messages on social media. My plans are actually, I'm going to be doing more in the NFT space. I actually did an NFT last year with my piano for a friend who was a friend's friend, someone in the community who was in ICU and ultimately did not make it. So I had played an piano in the room in one of the social audio platforms we were in, and I had recorded it, but it was one of the last things he heard before they had to unplug him from his life support. For the sake of privacy, I will not mention who that is, but I'm sure a lot of people know who that is. One of the things I'm excited about that I'll be launching myself is my own Web3 communities and NFT projects. I'll be collaborating with artists, but I'll also be using my piano as my superpower. I've used piano to raise money for COVID frontlines, as well as for different other causes and charities. Some are listed on our sites because I believe that one of the reasons why NFTs are so exciting is that they are the intersection of art, culture, media, technology, and humanity. So I would love to be able to do that. I also, as an actress and model in my younger days, as well as occasionally now for my portfolio companies. Sometimes I'm a bit camera shy, which is why before, when I was little, I started, I was a piano prodigy and an international competition winner.
That's great. Are you still with us? I think we've just lost connection there.
Oh, sorry. Are you still?
Yes, we are still there.
It's so great that we're back. I was about to email everybody and be like, okay, well, that was a really wonderful interview. But I was just going to say, there's a lot of volatility in the world. There's a lot of things that we don't know. The only thing that I know for sure is that change is inevitable, and we need to be prepared for that change. So one of the reasons why I am trying to say that we should all kind of unite our talents for good is because we can. And, while I am still, breathing and I have 2 arms, 2 legs and everything, I think the one thing I'm sure of is that I'll be grateful for the time I have. And I hope that, my efforts as a creator, an entrepreneur, an investor can bear fruit and that I can help others inspire and co-inspire and learn from.
Well, Jennifer, it's been an absolute pleasure connecting with you. Thank you so much. It's been an honour to have your insights featured on Expert Talks today. Really appreciate your time and best of luck moving forward.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honoured. Thank you.
And if you just joined us, we had a very interesting discussion with Mrs. Jennifer Cheng Lo, the co-founder, chair and managing partner of NewChic Capital. Please head to YouTube. Kalkine Media's channel will have the full recorded interview for you there, and keep watching for more of these live expert talks and market insights. Till the next episode, stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine Media.